Hello, this is Melissa Hale Spencer, the editor of the Altamont Enterprise, here today with Eric Brown. And I found out about Eric because he sent me an email with a picture that looked like it had come from National Geographic. It was a close-up of the face, like a portrait of a bobcat. And I just thought, wow, I need to find out who this man is and how he got to take a picture of a bobcat. So thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I liked to start with how this all unfolded. How did you end up with 3 little baby bobcats?
Last summer, over here at Altamont Orchard, the maintenance crew was watching a mother bobcat come and go and starting to raise her kittens. One day, Mom stopped coming, and after about 2 days of not seeing Mom, the kittens were coming out and looking for Mom, and they got concerned. They were like, hey, we should call somebody. And they did the proper thing. They called the local wildlife rehabilitator, and my friend Jean went over. She is local down here in Guilderland, and she went out and she did an evaluation on them and deemed that they needed some intervention. So she made contact with another friend to help her capture them. They were captured and evaluated, and one had a minor eye issue, which she went to the vet for that. And then they were deemed that they needed help because Mom still hadn't been seen, and it had been about 5 days by then. So Jean's not really set up for long-term care. And when they came in, they were only approximately 5 to 6 weeks old. Their eyes were still blue. They were that young. So we are set up for long-term care. So she contacted me and said, hey, I got bobcats, stop by and pick them up.
So how old were they at this point?
About 6 weeks or so.
And did they seem to you like kittens, like domestic kittens?
No. Of the 3 kittens, one had an eye issue. So for the first 5 days we had him, we had to hold him down and put eye drops in him.
Yeah.
He drew blood every time. Through a very expensive pair of Kevlar bite gloves that I have that come all the way up to the elbow, and they're Kevlar lined. He still drew blood. So I was very happy at the end of 5 days when his eye got better.
So right from the beginning, they're wild.
Oh, absolutely.
And you have to treat them that way.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned that you are set up for long-term care. And if you could just tell me what that means and how you as a person got into doing this.
Well, the definition of long-term care for us is we have the room to have large enclosures.
Where are you located?
We're in the town of Duanesburg.
Oh, yeah.
So we're kind of outer suburbia.
Yes.
So we have the room to have larger enclosures so that they have room to grow, room to run around and play and hunt and practice hunting and things like that. So my friend doesn't. She's a little more inner suburbia and has neighbors. Mm-hmm. So, she really can't have the large enclosures out in the yard, without a lot of the neighbors going, what? Huh?
And probably not in the zoning code either.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved in doing this in the first place? Just kind of back up and tell us a little about your own life. Where are you from originally? Where did you grow up?
I'm originally from Florida. My wife is from this area, and I inherited my grandparents' farm.
In Duanesburg. Oh, what a nice inheritance.
Yeah, okay.
What kind of a farm was it?
It was kind of a hobby farm. My grandfather bought it way back in the early 60s at a tax auction from a cousin, and he retired there and lived out his days, and he enjoyed it. He was a quintessential farmer, from the brown coveralls to wearing his union suit in July. He was a farmer through and through.
And what was his name?
Leroy. Yep. So
Leroy Brown?
Yep.
Wow, that's a famous name.
Yep. But
good song.
And the more that I do the animals, the more I have respect for him and the work that he could do, because he was a very old man when I knew him, well into his 70s and 80s. Mm-hmm. He could outwork me, you, and this guy over here put together. I mean, on any given day. So I have a lot of respect for him more, and it grows every day. So, anyways, we got into the rehab. My wife got into it first. She used to teach at the charter school over in Schenectady.
And what is your wife's name?
Linda.
Linda, okay.
So when Linda lost her job, when the charter school closed, she was unemployed and kind of depressed and bored. And this is something she wanted to explore. So she did. And she started off kind of small, and we joined a group of other rehabilitators, which she did because I was at work. And
what kind of work do you do?
I'm a Teamster.
Oh.
So I drive a truck.
Yes.
But she was home, and so she got involved with it a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more. So for the first couple years, she kind of did it on her own, and I would help when I was home on the weekend. Then I lost my job, so now I was home, so I kind of took over, and it's just grown since then. And
now, what kind of training do you have to go through to do that?
Well, we are both state licensed. She took her class 2 RVS, and we're also both RVS specialists.
What does that mean?
That means RVS stands for rabies vector species, which means we can work with raccoons, skunks, and bats, although we do opt out of the bats. Neither one of our eyesight is well enough to get the little worm in the little mouth. So, and their mouths are really small. So we opt away from the bats. But we are certified to work with that, raccoons and skunks, which is a big item for us. We do quite a few. And she holds a federal bird license. We would both have one, but the federal government only issues one license per address.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know, but she does the paperwork, so it's in her name. And we are also federally licensed educators, which means that we take our birds out, and you might have seen us at the fair. We have some programs coming up.
The Altamont Fair?
Yep, we've done that for about the last 4 years. We have some events coming up, which I would like to plug later on.
Well, go ahead. Do it now.
Well, no, let me stay with what I'm...
Okay.
So we were members with a larger group and became very active with it. Board members. She was sitting vice president. We were very active in the whole thing, and it grew and grew. And our training was through that. Plus, we have a statewide group also that we belong to, and they have a conference once a year, which is 3 days of nothing but classes and lectures and all kinds of stuff like that. So we would go to that every year.
And this is all volunteer work.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of commitment for a volunteer job.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in 2015, we kind of got tired of playing politics in the larger group, so we struck out on our own. We started Outpost 4, and it's grown quite well for about the 4 years it's been in existence. I'm pleased with the growth. I wish it was bigger, and growing faster, but I'm pleased with the growth. I'm actually really pleased. Last year was the very first year we were self-sufficient, which means I didn't have to dig too deep in my pocket to support it.
So where does the support come from?
We're all volunteers, and we are a registered 501c3
so
charity.
People can make contributions.
Absolutely.
And what is the name of the organization?
Outpost 4 Wildlife Rehabilitation Services.
So is it a numeral 4?
Yes.
Outpost 4
Yep.
Wildlife Rehabilitation Services.
Yep. And people always ask me how I came up with the name. When we were part of the larger group, we were the farthest southwest corner of their coverage area.
So you felt like an outpost.
We were an outpost, and I figured 1 sounded pretentious, 2, you're just a loser, 3, you're the other loser. Nobody cares about number 4, and I like anonymity.
And plus, it works as the word FOR.
Yes,
because you're an outpost for this
yeah,
cause.
and that never really came to mind. It was more I like who finished 4th in any event that you've ever. You don't know.
No, there's nothing after the bronze medal.
Yep. So, and I like the anonymity, so we stuck with it. And I'm pretty pleased to say that, like you said, we were self-sufficient last year, barely, but we pulled it off. And we've grown to about 1,200 followers on Facebook.
Oh, my.
I figured we'd have about 5, only because my dad, her parents, our daughter, that would be about it, But we've grown to just over 1,200, and I'm really happy with that. And
That's great.
That's probably the hardest thing of the whole thing that I've done is try to be the administrator on the Facebook page to keep it interesting, to keep it growing.
So what do you put on your Facebook page?
Oh,
like pictures of the animals?
Oh, we try to do weekly updates with the animals that are in care. I try to pass along informational things and posters and whatnot that people share. I also try to give people an idea of just the sheer logistics of what we do. I mean, a lot of people don't quite get it.
Yeah, I think you should give our listeners an idea of the logistics.
Well, tonight when I go home to feed, I have 13 birds, 14 birds to feed to 3 cats and a skunk.
Quite a household.
Yeah, we're looking at 25, 30 mice, maybe 6 rats, 3 cans of cat food, and whatever other meat I can find in the freezer.
So where do you get, for instance, mice?
Oh, well, mice up until just the end of last year, we actually had a really good deal with a local laboratory that produces rodents for commercial sale. We had a gratis account where they would give their excess away, their excess inventory. They did away with that. The biggest concern we have this year is keeping a rodent supply. We're having to buy them.
Oh, my goodness. So can't you get your Facebook followers when they catch mice, or do they have to be fresh?
Oh, they don't have to be fresh. And we do have people that catch them for us. I mean, we have people all the time. I have mice. Okay, but the demand that I have, I mean, the 3 cats alone eat about 5 pounds a day.
Oh, my.
And that's a light day. I mean, they if they're really hungry and really gorging, they'll do 8 or 9 pounds each.
Well, tell us a little about a day in the life of a bobcat. So let's just pretend you're waking up in the morning. Do they eat in the morning?
We generally feed in the afternoon.
Okay. So during the day they hang out in their. What are their quarters like?
Well, they are in a 20 by 30 kennel, basically with a roof on it, so they can't get out. What they do all day, I really don't know, because
they play with each other.
I would assume, but we have a very strict isolation policy because they are wildlife. We only spend 15 minutes a day maximum with any of them,
because you don't want them to get used to humans.
Exactly, we don't want to imprint it on them. So I'm not sure exactly what they're doing down there.
That would be cool for your Facebook page to get one of those cameras that would just record their activities.
But then again, there are also cats, so I'm pretty sure they sleep over here and they sleep over there. There are some things that are just very inherent to cat.
Yeah. So you feed them mid-afternoon? Is that what you said?
Generally, when I get home, I do chores when I get home.
And what, like, you just toss the mice into their pen?
They'll get their rats or roadkill or whatever I'm taking out of the freezer for them. This year we were really fortunate because we had 3 cats that we had a really good supply of red meat for them. I cleaned 5 deer this year for them that all came in from various places. I had other sportsmen bringing me trimmings and things like that. So we kept them on a very good natural diet. We picked up a lot of roadkill and things like that. And they don't even like processed food. I've tried a couple of times to fill the bowl with canned stuff, and they kind of look at it and they're like, no, where's the squirrel? So, which is good, because come Sunday, there's no more opportunity for canned food for them.
Well, I wanted to ask about that, because you say come Sunday, and just so people know, that's their release date. And
yes.
Is there any kind of training you have to do to them to get them to be able to survive in the wild, or they'll just...
Well, we do live hunt.
What's that?
Periodically. We put something in there that's not coming back.
Alive, like a rabbit, for instance.
We use a lot of chickens. So people, roosters and whatnot. Rabbit would work,
So then they hunt down the...
Yes, and we do that with any of the juvenile predators that we have come through. I have to know that they can fend for themselves. If an adult bird or an adult canine or something comes in, I know they can survive on their own. They made it to be an adult. So I don't really have to live hunt them, but I do live hunt the juveniles as they grow. I have to know that they can take care of themselves.
And I was reading up just to try to learn more about bobcats, and especially the females are very, very territorial.
Yes.
I mean, how do you know when you're dropping three? What are they, male or female?
I believe 2 boys and a girl from their size difference.
So when you drop them off, how you would have, of course, no way of knowing what territory.
It's a roll of the dice, and they're going to wander and find their own territory anyways.
I see.
And we have I have a primary place I'd like to drop off, but the landowner hasn't gotten back to me yet, and I have a backup. If there's an existing population there, they'll work it out.
So Sunday, wherever this is that you decide on, you have them like in a cage in your car? Or?
They will be.
And so you drive to where it is.
Yep.
And you open the...
We tote the crates out into the field. And actually the original finder's supposed to come and let them out again. I offered that to him.
Oh, how nice! Of the person from Altamont Orchards.
Yeah. His name is Jim. He's the head of maintenance, I think he said. He works on like the golf carts and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Him and his girlfriend are going to come.
And they're going to open the gates.
And let them free.
And then how have you done this before?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, do they just rush out and they're gone? Or do
Pretty
they
much, yeah.
Kind of...
Don't blink, you'll miss it.
No.
Okay. We have done some public releases of birds at some of our events and stuff. I always tell people, hey, make sure the camera's on. Don't blink. There are no do-overs. They ain't coming back.
Yeah.
So
how does that make you feel? Do you like miss them, or do you feel like
it's kind of a two-headed coin? It's bittersweet because on the one hand, I'm really happy that they're free. I'm really happy I don't have to go out there in 39 below zero wind chill and feed them. But on the other hand, I worry about them. Are they safe? Are they finding food? Did they find a dry spot to sleep last night when it was raining? And we've released hundreds and hundreds of animals. I worry a lot about them, but I have to believe that nature put enough instinct into them to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
And I've seen some that were imprinted animals that have spent their whole lives with people. There's a lot of instinct in there. They could take care of themselves. They hunt. The only thing is they want to be with people. We had a fisher we placed him just about a year ago now, and he was every bit a fisher.
They're supposed to be vicious animals.
Oh, yeah, they're supposed to be. But he was found by a teenage girl, and her mother did not do the right thing and call somebody immediately to get him into proper care. She let the young girl play with him and slept in her bed and played with the dog and ran around the house, and it was what they call an imprint. He sought human attention.
Oh.
And in every other sense of the word, Mel was fine. He was about 3.5, almost 4 feet long, tip to tip. He tipped out about 22 pounds. Big sharp teeth, very sharp claws. He was like a little bear running around in his cage, but he sought human attention. Now, because I feed every day and I check on him every day, I would go to the cage, he would come right to me. And if it was only me, then I could solve that. But I would have other people come that he did not know, strangers. He would run right over to the cage and stick a paw through, just like a used car salesman. Hi, buddy, how you doing? Shake my hand. And he would interact with people. And I couldn't, in good conscience, let him go because the wrong person wouldn't understand that he just wants to play. But he could be vicious if he wanted to. He just chose not to. Not last winter, was it last? Yeah, last winter we had that really heavy, wet snow. Mm-hmm. The roof of his enclosure started to buckle. I had to go in and put some bracing in so his roof didn't collapse. Normally, by then the decision had been made. He was going to permanent care. There was no way we could release him. So we were starting to interact with him, socialize with him and like that. So normally I would play with him for a couple minutes and he'd be fine. I was ignoring him. 2 coats and a pair of gloves, and he caught me right here on the wrist, and I'm pretty sure he could have separated my wrist if he wanted to, because he bore down a little bit because I was ignoring him, and it hurt for about 2 weeks, and it was swole up pretty good. So, I mean, he could be vicious. He was healthy and all that. He just chose to interact with people.
So when you say he had to be in permanent care, is that at your place?
We thought about trying to get the permit to keep him permanently, but the logistics behind it, mostly I couldn't afford to build him in the enclosure he deserved.
So where is he now?
He is at a private sanctuary out in the Buffalo area.
Oh, my goodness. Do you ever go visit him?
We took him out there about a year ago, and I follow their page. I've got some videos. I actually know a couple of the people that run the place. I see them periodically. I haven't been back to visit. We don't place very much. We did place some coyotes about 3 years ago, and we've talked about going back to see them. And I don't know whose heart would be broken more, mine or theirs. So I see pictures of them, and they've grown up to be beautiful ladies, but I don't know if I want to see them.
Yeah.
You know, because it was really hard to put them in there. And the place that the coyotes went is a wonderful place. I wish I lived there.
So this was also coyotes who had been, as you say, imprinted with
yes,
humans?
the 4, we called them the 4 princesses. They came from in the central part of the state, and their mother was actually executed on a nuisance permit. And when the shooter went up to make sure that it was a clean kill, which is being responsible, the belly was moving. The trauma forced labor. She had 7 puppies.
Oh my gosh! So this man had a permit to kill the coyote, and it was a mother, and
he delivered him C-section in the field.
Oh my goodness!
And rather than either let her go and be a mom or let them go with her, he created 7 orphans, pulled them out. By the time we got them, they made it to a rehabber out in the central part of the state, and who didn't really have the learning curve with coyotes is really steep.
Why? Why is that?
They're a difficult, especially a neonate, eyes closed, C-section delivery. He just didn't, he was losing them. He had lost 3. The other 4 were transferred over to us. They had some respiratory issues. They had some GI issues. But we got them back on track, and when we took them down and to their permanent home, they were beautiful ladies. I mean,
so they were all females.
All
That's
females.
Why you're calling them princesses.
Yep, 4 princesses. Yep.
And they had been raised by humans. So
yeah, they had never known anything else. They had
Yeah.
never even smelled their mother because they were still inside of her when she died.
Oh my!
So
God.
you know.
And now, where are they?
They are in a private sanctuary down in Pennsylvania. They were taken in down there, and we had a bit of a debacle with the state. There's a lot of backstory issues that I won't go into, but we had a little problems with the state, and they really forced our hand on it. They gave us 16 days to place 4 large carnivores into permanent care. And I am so proud of my friend Randolph and his friend Alicia. They burned up their cell phones. They called everywhere between here and San Diego trying to find them a home.
Because the state's viewpoint is they're supposed to be released to the wild.
The state said you have 16 days to place them or we'll have them euthanized. Period. 16 days. It's 2 weeks. So I had a real problem with that. But Randolph and his friend Alicia, they burned up their cell phones. They found a home for them. You know, and that was probably one of the hardest trips we've made. We don't place much into care. Most of our stuff gets released, but taking the girls down was just really hard.
Yeah, I can see it in your face. Did you name them? Were they?
I had named 2 of them. Originally, we were going to try to keep 2 for educational ambassadors. Mm-hmm. I named the big blonde Anna, after Anna Nicole Smith, because she was a big blonde and I had a very large blonde. And the other one I named Hetty, after Hetty Lamar, because she was really smart. So
tell me what went wrong with that plan, that you were planning on using them for educational purposes, but the state wouldn't allow that?
Not in the least. I was told no way, shape, or form. They would fight me in every corner.
But they allow you were saying you visit the Altamont Fair and other places with
the
birds
educational birds are federal.
Oh, I see.
See,
but
that
the coyotes
would have come through the state, and this representative of the state said no way, shape, or form would he back the permit.
Well, isn't that interesting? So,
even though that coyotes are very prevalent through the area, whether urban, suburbia, rural.
Yeah, I wrote about it. The more people try, and there have been all kinds of projects trying to exterminate them, they're just a resilient population, and they end up spreading further and becoming more prevalent.
I mean, I've even had a call from animal control for a coyote that was sleeping under a dumpster at the Stewart's on Henry Johnson Boulevard.
No. Gosh.
And I told the lady how to get him out from under there. And she, no, you have to come and get him. And no, he lives there. No, he doesn't. It was like, he didn't take the bus down there, okay? It may not be the best neighborhood for him to live in, but that's where he chooses to live. Leave him alone. You know, if Stewart's wants him out from under the dumpster, here's what you got to do. But, yeah, she didn't want to hear that. You know, but when the ENCON officer went down, and I know most of the officers or know somebody who does know him, he did exactly what I had told her to do. Almost like he read it off the same page. You know, he opened the fence up, he got rid of the people, opened the fence in the little corral up, and walked around the back, made some noise. Coyote ran out and ran down the street, went somewhere else. And that's all Stewart's wanted. They just wanted to use their dumpster without getting dog bit.
Yeah. Well, so do you have any theories on why it is some species like coyotes are reviled, where others like bobcats seem to be admired? I mean, the cultural forces there?
I think a lot of it comes through our heritage. Over the eons that, we've interacted with wildlife, there's been bad experiences with wolves. Somebody somewhere got wolf bit or wolf at, and same thing with coyotes. They're kind of a scavenger, and they're a little sneaky by nature, and they don't come when you call them, and things like your domestic dog does. And so
we have icons like Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah. and people take that, and, they're like, oh, the coyote ate my cat. Well, honestly, if a cat's disappearing in a neighborhood, it's probably not the coyotes. It's probably an owl, believe it or not. I've read a lot of things, and they've studied coyote poop, and less than 2% of their diet is feline. And they don't know if that's predation or just scavenging a dead cat in the road, because they'll eat anything.
I love the way they sound. We have them. I live under the escarpment, and it almost sounds like they're at a cocktail party sometimes. Not the independent howling, but like everybody doing it at once.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you know what that's all about?
They're just communicating.
Yeah.
Where are you? Hey, what's going on? Yeah. Things like that. Everything means something different, the yelps, the yips, and stuff. But it's just communicating through the family, because most of the local packs are family units. There's an alpha set, which is mom and dad. There's, sibling or children, older children, and then younger children. And as the children get older, just like with us, they wander off and they make their own lives.
So what keeps you and your wife at this? It sounds like a tremendous amount of volunteer time and effort.
That's a good question. If you come up with an answer, let me know, because
well,
it's can be very taxing some days, and it can be very depressing some days, but it can be very rewarding some days. If you go on our Facebook page, we did releases last Saturday when it was nice. To watch a bird that you've nursed back to health go free, we let Mr. Skunkle go. He came in with a broken ankle.
Who was that?
Mr. Skunkle.
Oh, it was a skunk?
Yeah, he had come in the fall with a broken ankle. He had been hit by a car. His first 2 weeks with us, he laid on his side, and I syringe fed him egg and Pedialyte and his medication, and that's about all he could muster. But as he got better and better, he started to get upright, and then he would eat by himself, then he would move around a little bit. And as he got better with that, I moved him to a bigger enclosure so he could exercise more and get around. and he went free Saturday. So, that really kind of is a high point of it, So that helps. We both really love animals and like that. Like you said, the picture I sent you in your email, that's not the best one.
Oh my gosh.
I've got a lot of pictures, and that was just a random picture I picked out. So that's not. I'm a photographer.
Just to see a cat up close like that, and he's looking right at you with his mouth open, his teeth showing.
Yeah.
And he looks like a wild creature, and how you get a shot like that is rare.
So that helps a lot. It's a high point for me. I have a lot of FaceTime with a lot of things, and it is, like I said, it is quite rewarding some days. It's definitely an emotional roller coaster, but the highs are well worth it.
And it's nice you're in it together because you have somebody else that knows exactly how you're feeling and what you're doing.
Yes, as we have people that we get a lot of people that show some interest, well, how do I get involved in this and that? I want to volunteer. The very first thing I tell them, because it is primarily a female group of rehabbers. It's about 85% women.
So the nurturing.
Yeah. I always tell them, I said, make sure your significant other is on board, because the phone is going to ring at the worst times. First dinner plate hits the table, phone's going to ring. You're on your way out the door to go to the movies, the phone's going to ring. A decision's going to be made. Do we go to the movies or do we go pick up this animal? Your life is going to be affected. Their life is going to be affected. They don't have to be involved, but make sure they're on board with what you're doing. And believe it or not, we've had some people where their significant others like, no, and they don't follow through. But for domestic harmony, you really got to be both kind of on the same page with it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So,
well, our time has gone so fast. Do you have any closing thoughts, things that we haven't touched on? I think we could probably talk for another hour. You've got such deep heart for these animals.
All right. Well, a couple of things. One, if everybody would like to follow our page, it's Outpost for Wildlife Rehabilitation Services. We're on Facebook. We are local, right here in the area. We do have some events coming up that you guys can come out and see the birds. On the 13th of April, we're over in East Greenbush at the town park. On the 27th of April, we're right down the road here at Gade Farms. We're doing an event in conjunction with Gilderhaven. They're the charity du jour, I guess, is the way to.
It's a Greens group that are help animals, both wild and domestic.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're helping Sue out with that because our birds can draw and hold a crowd. We're up in Washington County on the 18th. And I believe we're at the Viaport on the 25th of May.
You're busy.
Oh, it's just going to crank up.
So that whole other aspect we haven't even touched on, but it must have to do with outreach in terms of letting people know you exist, but also fundraising, I would guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we get out, we let people see the birds, get some pictures, because when you start to take an interest, then you start to get involved. And when you start to get involved, then you can make a difference. And sometimes
that's true with almost everything.
Yeah. And, sometimes getting involved is just making a donation. Sometimes it goes past that. We always get people that, I'd like to volunteer. I'd like to touch on that. We do take volunteers periodically. However, with our work with raccoons, it makes it very difficult to bring people on site
because of the potential for rabies?
Yes, and the state rules involved in their care. But we do use transporters. We do always need event staff. We know other rehabbers that need help. If it's something that, you're thinking, wow, that sounds really kind of cool, please look into it. The world needs more rehabbers. Our phone we're coming into baby season right now. We got our first little fox in last week.
Tell us just that'll be our closing thought. I don't know
Okay.
why, but I just get so thrilled whenever I see a fox.
This little fox was found by a young gentleman as he got off the school bus. It was laying out in the middle of their backyard. Her eyes were still closed.
A baby?
A baby. Oh, yeah. I'll show you the picture. But yeah, a little baby fox. Her eyes were still closed. The child picked it up, put it in a box. Mom got home about an hour and a half later. Yeah, we need to call somebody. So she called somebody, and we made arrangements to have it picked up and brought into care. Actually, my friend Jean has got it right now because she's home all day. He eats about 6 times a day. So I talked to Jean today. He said that he's up to about 525 grams, which he's almost doubled his body weight in a week. And his eyes are open Monday.
Oh, wow.
So
he can see the world.
Probably a little fuzzy for him right now, but they're open. So he's on track. He's growing. And our last year, I believe we did 8 reds, 3 grays. So he'll have friends pretty soon.
Well, thank you so much, Eric Brown.
You're welcome.
And happy baby season.
Thanks. And thanks for having me.